How to properly handle resources during Python exceptions. Imagine working on a project where you open a file or connect to a database. Now, what happens if an error pops up? Do you know how to make sure those resources are still released properly? That's what we're talking about today. Properly managing resources during Python exceptions is key to keeping your programs running smoothly and avoiding bugs like resource leaks. First, the best way to handle resources like files, network connections, or locks is to use Python's context managers. These are used with the with statement. When you open a file with open, file, txt, as f, Python automatically takes care of closing the file once you leave the block, even if an error occurs inside. This means you don't have to worry about forgetting to close the file or handling exceptions just to close it. If you're not using a context manager, keep your try blocks small and focused on the specific operation that might fail. For example, only put the code that opens or processes the resource inside the try block. This makes debugging easier because you know exactly where the error happened. Always catch specific exceptions related to the resource. Instead of using except exception, which is very broad, catch errors like I/O error or connection error. This way, you handle only the errors you expect and don't hide bugs or other issues. If you're not using a context manager, use a try finally block. Place your resource releases code inside the finally part. This guarantees cleanup no matter what happens. For example, if you acquire a lock or open a connection, releases it in finally. Here's a quick example. Resource is equal to acquire resource. Try, process resource, except specific error, handle error. Finally, resource releases. You can also nest with statements inside try except blocks. This way, you get automatic cleanup and can handle errors during resource use. Python version 3.11 introduced new features like exception groups, which help manage multiple errors at once, especially in concurrent tasks. The add no method allows you to attach extra info to exceptions, making debugging easier without losing the original error details. Keep your main logic separate from error handling. Use the else clause in try blocks for code that should only run if no error occurs. This keeps your code clear and organized. If you catch an exception just to log it or do some cleanup, consider re-raising it afterward. This preserves the original traceback, which is helpful for debugging later. For example, when working with files, always use with open to ensure they close properly. For network or database connections, use the context managers provided by the libraries or create your own with the contextlib module. If you're working with custom resources, define your own context managers by implementing the enter and exit methods. When doing multiple concurrent tasks, exception groups help you handle several errors at once. This makes managing complex resource operations much easier. By following these practices, you can keep your programs stable and prevent resource leaks, making your code more reliable and easier to maintain. Remember, handling resources correctly during exceptions isn't just good practice. It's essential for writing professional, bug-free Python code.